Okay, so here we go. Now, Terry, earlier you were saying that you went from Vancouver to San Diego. How many days did that take?
The total trip took 42 days, but that included 1 day on the bus up and then 1 day on the bus back. So 40 days on the road, of which 36 days were riding days and 4 days off. Just
That is so cool. So first you have your bike already in your hometown and you
mhm,
put your bike on the bus and you took the bus to Vancouver.
right. Yeah, you have to put your bike in a bicycle box, as it's known, and it requires a little uh, disassembling of the bicycle, but it's not difficult.
Also, you actually take the bike apart, put it in a box,
Hmm.
and then put it.
Yeah, for shipping it on a bus or an airplane, they're both the same. You have to put it in a bike box.
So are you really good at bicycle maintenance?
No, I would say that's one of my shortcomings. I certainly do some bicycle maintenance. Whenever you're on a long bicycle trip, you, by design, you have to take care of your bike. I mean, that's your transportation. You're carrying everything you have with you, and so you need to take care of your bicycle. You can stop in bicycle shops along the way and have them do any major repairs, but on a day-to-day basis, you need to maintain your bicycle.
Okay. So when you are taking your trip, what tools do you need to take with you to take care of your bicycle?
Oh, just some basic Allen wrenches and screwdrivers and um, and obviously a repair kit for patching a tube or some extra inner tubes. I usually just take along extra inner tubes, and you need tools to take your tire off, and things like that.
Wow, so you just take the tubes with you, huh? How
Hmm.
many inner tubes do you take?
Oh, I usually take two or three extras. I'm not real keen on patching flats. I usually just take the tube out and throw it away and put in a new one.
So on your last bike trip, did you have any problems with your bike? Did it break down at all?
No, no, no real problems.
Oh, cool. All right, thanks, Terry. Okay, Terry, now when you take your bike trips, when you bicycle across America or down the West Coast, um, what is a typical day? Like, how would you start your day and how would you finish your day on the bicycle?
Well, a typical day, I'm camping usually. So I usually get up at or near sunrise. Sometimes I get up slightly before sunrise, and I have to pack up all of my camping gear, stuff the sleeping bag in a stuff sack, and roll up my air mattress, pack up the tent, and then eat breakfast, and then I usually try and you know do the daily essentials and then hit the road. I'm usually try to be on the road somewhere around 7:30 in the morning, depending on when the sun comes up. But I like to go cycling early in the morning because it's cooler and there's um, you tend to see more wildlife, and I just think it's a nicer time of day, especially if when you're riding in the summer. It tends to get warmer as the day goes on. So, and then I usually try and find a campground sometime in the afternoon, and then the process starts again, setting up camp, setting up my tent and whatnot. And during the day, I'm usually actually cycling for 5 to 6 hours a day, and then taking 2 or 3 hours off various breaks and eating lunch and whatnot. And then usually in the afternoon, I stop and buy some food that I can cook, so I can cook dinner in camp and have breakfast the next morning.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So, you just pay for everything with a credit card, or you bring cash, or?
All both, especially in the United States, with debit cards, you can get cash back when you're buying food at a grocery store. So it's always nice to have cash to pay for incidentals. And
Hmm. Well, that's interesting. You were saying that you see wildlife. What wildlife would you see?
oh, on this trip, as an example, elk and deer and raccoons and possums and turtles and snakes and all kinds of wildlife.
Have you ever almost hit an animal?
I have. I don't think I've ever come close to hitting an animal. No.
Well, speaking of being hit, have you had any close calls with cars?
Um, well, that's kind of, I think, goes with the territory, so to speak. I've never come close to getting hit, but I certainly feel like on occasion I've had vehicles come closer to me than I wanted them to come close. Uh, and the kind of the real bugaboo for cyclists is logging trucks and back east coal trucks. They can be really terrifying when they're going by and you're cycling down the road.
I bet. Wow. Okay, thanks, Terry. So now, Terry, when you finish your bicycle ride at the end of the day, you go to a campground. So what do you do? I mean, you set up camp, and I mean, how do you take a shower or brush your teeth or?
Oh, in this, as an example, on this trip, I was staying mostly in state parks in Washington, Oregon, and California. Um, Almost all of the state parks that I stayed in had showers. Um, so, of course, they have restrooms and all your basic facilities as far as that goes. And as far as what we do in camp or what I do in camp is, I usually pick up a newspaper during the day, and I usually carry a novel with me. So part of what I do in the afternoon is just to relax and read the paper, read a book, and then also in the afternoon I work on my bike if I need to. Just try and get ready for the next day or unwind from that day.
What time do you normally make dinner?
Just depends on usually 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. When I'm on the road, I tend to be the proverbial early to bed, early to rise.
Sure. Well, what things do you cook? Because you probably don't want to carry a lot of food. Like, what would be a typical meal that you would have?
You're absolutely right. You don't really want to carry a lot of excess food because you're carrying a lot of weight anyways. When I'm on the road, my bike probably weighs 45 kilos. So that's a fair amount of weight to push up over a mountain range. Cook pasta for dinner or some soup or something fairly simple.
Hmm.
In groups, you tend to buy more elaborate food, buy salad material and whatnot.
Now, what do you actually prefer, doing the bicycle trip alone or in a group?
Well, they both have their good points. Um, I think the main thing was just that um, it just depends on if you're interested in doing a trip when a trip is available. In this case, there was a trip that was available going down the West Coast, but it was in the month of September, and I had to return to Japan, so the timing just didn't work out for me. And then I think lately the doing these trips solo is working out for me because I'm not training for the trips. Typically, when you're going with a group, you have to be in shape when the trips start so that you can keep up with the group. Um, so this is working out for me to do solo trips.
Oh, so you prefer the solo?
Well, it kind of depends.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Terry. Thanks a lot for talking about your trips.
Thanks, I enjoyed it a lot.
Now, Terry, when you bicycle on these long trips across America, what do you do on a really bad day when it's foggy or rainy or windy? Do you just keep on pedaling?
Usually, yes. The philosophy kind of goes that if you're going to take a day off, and you need to take a day off every 8 days or once a week, whatever, just to give your body a chance to recover and recuperate. Um, if you want to take a day off, you want to enjoy the day. So ideally, you want a day off when the sun's shining. So if you wake up in the morning and you're scheduled to ride that day and it's raining, you just pack up and you ride in the rain. As far as the fog goes, the main thing I try and be aware of is increasing my visibility, just to make sure that the drivers have a chance to see me. So I have pannier covers that are a high visibility yellow, and I tend to wear a high visibility yellow jersey and put a strobe on the back of my light. Anything I can do to increase my visibility.
Man, okay. Are there any other problems that you face when you're traveling? Like, do you get sick or do you get fatigued or things like that?
Oh, sure. I definitely get fatigued on trips, and yeah, you don't feel well or whatever, but it's part of the trip, I guess, is just pushing on. And I think, for me, part of it's just I'm fairly competitive anyway, and it's a challenge to try and do a trip like that. And um, unless you're really ill or you've had an accident or something, most days you can persevere and struggle through. Fortunately, most days are enjoyable. I mean, that doesn't happen that often. But and as far as riding in the rain, some trips you have rain and some you don't. Amazingly, on this trip I had no rain. So this is the first trip I've ever done in my life with no rainy days. Had a lot of fog, but no rain.
Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, well, thanks, Terry.
Thanks.
So, Marion, what countries have you lived in?
I've lived in Italy, France, Australia, and now Japan.
Wow, that's
And
a lot.
Ireland, of course. Sorry.
Wow, you lived in Italy, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did you live in Italy for?
For 2 separate periods, so a year each. So in total, about 2 years, almost 2 years.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Mm.
So, why did you go to Italy? What were you there for?
I went there to study Italian, and the first time I studied Italian and French. And then the second time I went back after graduating to study more Italian.
That's pretty cool.
It was
Wow.
interesting, yeah.
So, were your classes tough? Was it a tough study program?
They were very interesting, and the first time I went, my Italian wasn't so good. I'd only studied for 2 years before I went the first time. So even though my Italian improved enormously over that first year, in the beginning it was quite difficult. I had one professor, for example, who would constantly say to me in class in Italian, "Are you following? Are you following?" So it was a bit intimidating.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think I could do that with my students.
No, it was really awful. He was really singling me out. And so all the other people in the class used to turn their heads around and look at this strange foreigner in their class who maybe could understand or maybe didn't. But I just felt very nervous and a bit awkward there because I was just waiting for him to pounce on me with his mi segue. It's terrible.
Me segues, are you following?
Are you following me? Literally, yeah. Basically, do you understand?
Oh, okay. What was life like in Italy at university? How is it different than, say, a university in Ireland?
Well, my university in Ireland is on one big campus. I think that's maybe the way in America as well. In Italy, though, the buildings of the university are spread all over the city. So you'll have, for example, the language and literature faculty, where I was, in one part of the town, and then maybe 10 or 20 minutes away by bus, you might have the faculty of education, where I had to go for some lectures as well. So that was very different for me to have everything so spread out. Also, the buildings were so old.
bet.
In Italy, there were really old traditional buildings, so they were beautiful, really beautiful. You walk into the faculty building, and there's a huge courtyard and beautiful architecture all around you. It was absolutely amazing. You felt like you were a little part of history inside, So, yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, sounds cool.
Yeah, it was great. One of the best years of my life.